Today I'm on a tributary of the Chattahoochee River in Georgia. Shoal bass of the day. Right off the bat, you can kind of see it's got those barring patterns down the side. If you look closer, you can see that tail spot that they all have. No color in any of the fins. If you look at the mouth, there's no tooth patch there whatsoever. Notice though that this fish has some discoloration on lips, both the upper and lower maxilla. This is a common thing in this particular creek and others across the country. It's called hypermelanism. There's a scientist up in West Virginia working for the U.S. Geological Survey. His name's Clay Rains. He is leading an effort to try to get a better handle of what exactly this is and what causes it. His project is called the Blotchy Bass Project, and I will give you contact information in the notes for this video as to how to get a hold of him and submit photos. And he can also have you test them. He's getting the genetic code of this down as to what it is, and the next step is to figure out what might be causing it. This particular stream has a pretty high influence of agriculture, cattle farming in particular, and I have caught largemouth bass in New Jersey out of a lake that is similar. It's got cows right adjacent to the lake, and a lot of the largemouth bass have these markings. We're going to see more of them today as we keep going, but this is the first fish. Yep, Mr. Shoal Bass. Second fish of the day. Very next cast, another shoal bass. Notice the markings here are a lot more distinct. You must know by now that bass markings are quite variable, both among individuals and even the same individual. Notice this fish does not seem to have any of those blotchy bass markings here. So it doesn't affect everything equally, and there's still a lot of unknowns about that and what exactly it is, why it seems to manifest itself in some fish and not others, and whether or not these fish in lakes or rivers that have this syndrome in it, do they all test positive for it even if they're not manifesting it. Early work done on largemouth bass virus back in the mid-90s found that largemouth bass that didn't even show symptoms of largemouth bass virus still tested positive for it, and it wasn't always automatically lethal to them like any other disease. So possible that the same situation is going on here, but looks like it's going to be a good day. 5 minutes, 2 shoal bass. 2 more casts later, this guy comes going for a visit. Beautiful 3-pound or so shoal bass. Absolutely smoked that spinnerbait. You gotta love fall shoal bass fishing. There's really nothing like it. Look at how pretty that fish is. There's beautiful markings all over it. This is what we're here for, man. This is what we're here for. Look at that beauty. I love smallmouth. Growing up, I fished for them a lot, especially during college when I was at Virginia Tech. But man, these shoal bass are special in a whole new way. The size is just crazy, and a lot of streams this size. If you caught a smallmouth bass this big, this would be the big fish of the day, possibly one of the biggest of the year. And today I fully expect to catch fish, many more fish in this size range, and some even bigger. What a beaut! What a beaut! There are some really nice largemouths in this stream that are mixed in there with the shoal bass. This is still not a very big one, but there are 5-7 pound largemouths in this stream mixed in here with 5 and 6 pound shoal bass. And then it's pretty awesome to fish for native bass in a stream that's, partially wadeable almost, and catch fish of that size. This is fish number 6 in this one spot. I haven't even hardly left to put in yet, and only one of them was a spotted bass, the non-native bass that's in here. But this is a nice chunky largemouth that was mixed in there right with the shoal bass. We often think of largemouths as these creatures that just like these ponds and small and still lakes and maybe backwaters of streams, but I have found that in rivers and streams, at least here in Georgia and in Alabama, the largemouths are always found associated with current. They might not be right out in the thick of it, but they're not way away from it either. And that's exactly where this fish was. Another beautiful shoal bass in the 3-pound category. This one came up and absolutely destroyed a topwater lure. One of the neat things about shoal bass is a lot of black bass. They're really keyed in on the low light periods, the crepuscular periods, the near dawn or near dusk or cloudy days or something like that. Shoal bass are exact opposite. Give them bluebird skies and with bright sun, they are super happy to bite under those conditions. When I used to fish on the lower Flint River with a friend of mine, Dave Partridge, this is the first time I'd ever fished for those fish, long before I ever thought I'd research them. And we figured out that the absolute best time to catch these fish in the summer was to start fishing about 9:30 or 10 and fish till about 3 in the afternoon. The bite would just start to die, and we were actually throwing topwaters for the most part. Totally different critter than smallmouth bass, which is like the exact opposite. They hate sunlight, especially in the summer, and they feed a lot at night. These fish don't seem to have that same pattern at all. And so this is as you can see, a bright bluebird sky, and current time is about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and this fish is eating topwater lures. What an amazing animal. They're really something special. If you've never fished for them, can't tell you how much fun they are. Here's another one of those blotchy bass. This one's got the blotches all over. You see it in the fin. You can see it on his back. You can see it on his tail. You can see it at the bottom of the tail fin. And if we look on the other side, let's see. It looks like there's one at the very top of the tail right there. Nothing's one little spot right there. You can sort of see. But yeah, so this is a more typical scenario where you see it in the fins and sometimes on the side, not so much on the mouth, but they can get it anywhere, and it's some kind of an, it's like an infestation. When I was sending clay up in West Virginia, samples from here, I would swab the actual black area, and that was where the genetic material was. So it's literally a something that is, I guess you could almost say, growing on the fish. It's harmless to them as far as we know. It doesn't kill them, and as far as we know, it's also like most other fish diseases, it's harmless to us as well. But this is a typical blotchy shoal bass from this creek. One of the things you can notice in this stream, all along this bank over here, you just see all that sand and all the lack of vegetation, and it looks somewhat trampled down. And that is because it is trampled down. This is still in the cattle ranching part of this creek, and this side of the river in particular is where they all are. And so there are times I've seen cows in the stream accessing it off this property. And so the banks on this side all look like this. They all have there's shelves, and it's very sandy. And you compare that to the other shoreline, which is kind of sunny, so you can't really see it, but you can see it's steep and full of vegetation. So very much of a dichotomy, one side of the stream to the other. We are almost at the top of the person's property where the cattle are, and once we get past that, the banks will look very similar on either side in terms of vegetation. So where do you look for shoal bass when you're fishing? So shoal bass, I think I've covered this in previous videos, they really like their current. They are not an eddy fish, they are certainly not a backwater fish, and they're not really pool fishes either, unless you're talking drought conditions where the only decent water depth is found in pools. So what you're really looking for like hot spots is what we're seeing right here. This is a pinch point where you can see this bank coming out that is squeezing all the current between that bank and this bank, and there's some wood in the water right there it's running through it. Now from here it's really hard to say how deep that water is, but that's the second point. These are not red-eye bass. I mean, small shoal bass, what we're thinking of, the size you catch red-eyes, 8-12 inches, yeah, they'll be in 1.5 feet of water. But if you're looking for the fish 2 to 5 pounds, they're not looking for 1.5 feet of water in general. You can catch them there sometimes, but what they really are looking for is more like 2 to 4 feet of water. So from here you can't quite tell if there's water that deep there. That bank on that side suggests it might be pretty shallow. On the other hand, this bank's pretty steep, so there could be some deep water. Might be a single little pocket there where it's pinching down. But you're looking for a combination of flow and depth. And these little pinch points, whether it's between two banks of a stream or if it's an area where a shoal is somewhat dewatered and the water has necked down to a certain part of the shoal, those are your hot spots and are totally worth a look. Another pretty shoal bass. This one having the smallmouth look to it with the extensive barring along there instead of the blotches that so many of them have. These are the ones that make people think, you know, smallmouth. Not that they are saying they are, but makes them think they're smallmouth. This is another fish that has a little bit of that blotchy bass syndrome. It's mostly just in the soft dorsal fin. You can kind of see it when you hold it up. You can't see it when it's down. It never fails. Fishing in the fall on this creek, you inevitably run into some black crappie while fishing for bass. You know, this is another fish that we really think of as a lake fish, Lake Eufaula or Weiss Lake in Alabama, or just small impoundments up north in natural lakes. But again, just like the bass down here in the southeastern United States, all these fish once upon a time were nothing but river and stream fish, maybe a swamp here and there, because there were no lakes, there were no reservoirs. And so it's easy to forget that these fish, which we think of and associate so much with lakes, are equally at home in pools of rivers. And this place in particular, a former student of mine figured out how to come here and actually catch like enough to eat. So they're in here. It's pretty crazy, but I always catch one or two when I'm shoal bass fishing here in the fall, often with in the most ridiculous places. You just never know. It's another pretty fish. And what is more natural to catch on the third cast but a nice, decent, about 14, 15 inch shoal bass? You know, because shoal bass and crappie would commonly be expected to live in the same kinds of places. And yes, I'm being exceptionally sarcastic. This is a nice shoal bass. You see there's no tooth patch there. I don't see any evidence of that blotching, the black spots. This is a good, clean fish. Here's another one of the many looks of shoal bass. Again, no tooth patch, so there's no hint of any introgression with spotted bass here. And you see it just kind of has a row of blotches down the side, which is kind of suggestive of there being some introgression, but boy, the tooth patch usually transfers to hybrids. That said, you can't guarantee just by looking at a fish whether or not there's no spotted bass genes in it. You see it's got the tail spot right there, kind of squarish, just like a shoal bass should. But man, all the fish have been just fat. Really, you're getting every ounce for every inch of these fish. Once again, no obvious blotching or black blotching on these fish. These fish this size are just so fun. They fight really hard. They don't jump like smallmouth do. That's the one thing that they lack. But they fight every bit as hard as a smallmouth bass. And I've had some diehard smallmouth bass anglers who've tangled with these fish that they fight harder. I'm not sure I would go there, but I'm just telling you what they say. But yep, shoal bass, another beautiful shoal bass. It's been a good day so far, at least 12, 15 of these. Here's what a little shoal bass looks like. They usually don't have the strong markings of the adults, but the tail spot is usually very distinct, and you can see how distinct that is in this little guy. They are super aggressive even at this size. You can catch them on all kinds of things. This one crushed a full-size spinnerbait. How it got it down its mouth, I have no idea. This is a classic area here where we transition from shallow to deep water. The current is squeezed between, basically the canoe is on dry land on its right side, so the entire river is going between here and that bank right there, and there's some scattered rocks and stuff like that. It's almost guaranteed that's where we're going to catch some fish here. Well, there he is. Yep, there he is. Oh, yeah. Oh, that big but feisty. Yeah, there you go. Classic shoal bass look. All those marked diamond shapes and barring in between. One of the things that makes them different from smallmouth bass is they usually don't just have bars. Like smallmouth bass mostly always have bars, if they have any markings at all. These guys have bars, they have diamonds, they have blotches, and yeah, they're a bit different. Their mouth is a whole lot bigger than a smallmouth bass would be anyway. And they don't co-occur, by the way. I mean, they're not supposed to be found in the same place, but smallmouth bass have been moved into their range in the downtown Atlanta area. Fortunately, as far as we know, not anywhere else. There's a nice little shoal bass right where he's supposed to be, in that pinch point between the two banks. Well, it took most of the day, but here's our non-native fish that's in this Chattahoochee tributary. This is a spotted bass. We know from genetics that most of these spotted bass are they're all hybrids with Alabama bass, but the fish in this stream are actually more spotted bass than they are Alabama bass. They don't rarely catch one over 2 pounds, so that matches. These fish have been in these streams for 50, 60, 70 years. They have intergressed with shoal bass to some degree, not as much as you might expect. So you have these blotches that look very different than the shoal bass. They're kind of squarish, roundish, in a line all the way down. You still see that little tail spot, but they have a bunch of horizontal lines of spots. They're kind of a greenish color, and most importantly, they have a tooth patch. So if you look on that tongue and you see that little you see that dark patch on the tongue, that's a tooth patch. But that's the number one thing that separates the non-natives from the natives. Neither largemouth bass nor shoal bass have a tooth patch. So this little guy is the invader. They get, like I said, about 2 pounds in these streams. Yep, next fish looks like a hybrid between spot and shoal bass. There's hardly any tooth patch in there. It kind of otherwise looks like a spotted bass. They don't always have those blotches like that smaller one did. They do always have those rows of horizontal spots that you can clearly see. And this one's obviously got a lot of blotchy bass syndrome in it. You got it on the pectoral fin, you've got it on the soft dorsal, you've got it on the tail. So this is the first fish I've caught today that I would say was a hybrid, which is great because I've caught close to 20 bass today and only 2 of them were spots, and now this one is a hybrid. That's a really good number for a creek like this where so many of your fish can be at least hybrids. So looking up. Number 16 shoal bass on the day for today in this Chattahoochee trib. You can see all the classic markings, including the tail spot. All the classic markings, no black blotches, no tooth patch, super sharp teeth, all the usual things that go along with shoal bass fishing. been a really good day. Caught more than 20 bass so far. 15 of them have been shoal bass. 3 of them have been largemouths. Only 3 of them have been hybrids and or spotted bass. That's a great number for a Chattahoochee trib. Another little largemouth, possibly the last fish of the day. That makes 4 for today. That's pretty amazing considering I was fishing flowing water and hardly any pools whatsoever. This fish came from that chute over there in front of those rocks, so the water's hauling butt pretty good. Amazing fish. Here we are, what might be the last fish of the day finally on this Chattahoochee tributary. This is a spotted bass, the non-native that's here. And like I said earlier, these fish are hybrids between Alabama bass and spotted bass, but they tend to favor spotted bass more. Their genetic contribution is higher. One of the big differences between the species visually is that those blotches on a spotted bass coalesce into a stripe as it goes onto the tail, and you can clearly see that's exactly what this fish looks like. So that's this fish I would call still a hybrid, but this fish, you know, if you didn't know that they were hybridizing, you would call this a spotted bass, Micropterus punctulatus, and you would probably be right 95% of the time. The fish is not supposed to be here, of course, and has caused all kinds of issues with the natives, but they've been here a long time and they're not going away. Well, it's getting dark. Made it to the takeout, which is the same thing as the put-in my case. It's been a good day. It's been a good day. Caught 25 bass today and 3 crappie. 16 of the bass were shoal bass, another 4 of them were largemouths. So 20 of the 25 bass I caught today were native bass to this stream. For a Chattahoochee River tributary, that's about as good as you could hope for. So it has been a good day. A couple 3-pound shoal bass. Lots of fish in the 1.5 pound range. A couple on the pushing 2. All around, just a fun day in October shoal bass fishing. And now all that's left for me to do is to take that canoe up this incredibly steep sandy precipice and on up to the highway. So if this video gets posted, you know I made it.